you feel like both these teams have turned up so far?
I think both teams have turned up in certain phases. Now we get to see later on who can continue that going, because it is an endurance race as well.
Well, we're one apiece here in this best of 5. We're moving over to Assault. Now, this was a map that Darkside had got to pick because they lost the previous map, which means Drop Bears gets to pick side. Defending Xenox, not a bad way to start.
Yeah, for Sydney to defend first up, I think that's what they'd like to have. And for Darksided, it's really a case of coming out really strong. They need to make a point here. They can't just get stuck here on the first point and have barely any time left. They need to make that statement early.
They certainly do. Well, let's see what Darksided can do, pushing out onto attack. Mooney swapping off straight away, no surprises there on to the Winston. Termo going to go over the top right now. Just wants to throw out a little bit of damage, get an idea of what everyone's playing, where they are. Be able to calm that out to his team as they push through round to the right straight away. Termo over the top into the back line, and Bertlock going to go down straight away to Mooney. Shogo brings one back with Swilko. That's a support for a support. And now both teams have lost 2. But I don't know, I think having Molotov on your side is not a bad way to start this one off. Drop Bears, though, going to say, I don't know if that's the case. It's back and forward, but no ticks so far.
It's like about, I think it's a 2v2 or 3v3 at the moment, because it's just back and forth, as you said. Mooney about to drop, and the mech has been popped to Shoyo in return. Recall comes out. Termo's still alive, the man you probably want to be alive on the point, and USMC picks up 2 kills, the revive onto Mooney, and Darksided essentially get what they wanted. 1 minute, 1 fight, 1 point.
Exactly, and when you get those prolonged fights, particularly on maps like Hanamura, where you have that offensive advantage coming from your spawn, you know that over time, theoretically, you should get players through before they do, and that's precisely what they saw. So Darksided with 6:40 on the clock, that is a ton of time now moving into point B.
They're in no rush, essentially, as you said. 6.5 minutes here for Darksided, but what we generally tend to see from teams is they're quite capable, especially the defensive team, to hold on for the next 4.5 to 5 minutes or so.
Man. I feel like some games could literally
They got eaten.
Yeah, that was less than ideal, that pulse bomb. Certainly see that happen time and time again. The right click a little bit too strong. They're coming out from the Diva. No pick so far here, pushing into point B. You can see, though, Shoyo going to drop over the top. USMC now ready to go with his pulse bomb. We'll see whether he finds a pick. That's a little bit better. Quats going to go down. Less than ideal now for the Drop Bears on defense. Shoyo and Bill are both with ultimates ready to go. You can see that self-destruct coming out. Going to find a pick? I don't think so. Just pushing everyone back in the Dragon Blade now from Termo. Wants to find someone, looking, searching. Unfortunately not the case, but 2 picks coming out from Darksided, going to find them. Almost that 1/3 tick.
Yeah, point still being contested though. Punk with the self-destruct available. Darksided using everything right now. They want to try and win this one early and have a big time bank in their favor. Starts to tick over again. It's up to 59%, but a big pulse bomb from Jordation will wipe out Mooney from this fight. It's a big player, a big piece to take away from Darksided, and now they start to crumble, and the attack will start to finish, dissipate, and be finished off. 5 minutes and 20 seconds. A pulse bomb, it's not going to be enough. And Darksided committed all their ultimates. They've only got a Transcendence in the back pocket remaining.
Look, it was close, but it obviously was not enough. The Drop Bears with that defensive advantage here on point B, managing to bring it back. They got to almost 60% though, did Darksided, so that's not bad considering, again, how much time they've got to work with. If they can get 1/3 of a tick every time they attack, even every second time they attack, they're still going to come out with a ton of time.
But to remember, that fight went for 1.5 minutes, which means we're now down to just under 5 minutes here defensively for the Sydney Drop Bears to defend. There's really not as many fights as you really think there is. The pulse bomb onto Punk is going to get immediately healed up from the Molotov Transcendence, and they pop the mech of Shoyo. It's go time again for Darksided, but they've lost Molotov after that Transcendence had expired. Termo trying to be kept alive, but he jumps down to the low ground from the high ground. Quats needs to get healed back up, and once he does, he's able to get back into that front line. Billa dead. Termo able to find that kill, and Darksided just trying to get back onto the point and get that ticking over again.
Yeah, we'll see what Termo can do here on the Soldier time and time again. A good Soldier coming through on this second point is very, very good, but actually going to get picked up there by Quats, and that Primal Rage trying to push through. Really haven't managed to find themselves too many ticks so far. Self-destruct over the top. This time it's looking a little bit better. Someone's surely going to want to jump back onto the point right now. You can see that both Quats and Shoyo have found their counterparts there in those tanks, and that should reset them, give it a little bit more time. The Drop Bears managed to hold this off once again.
And that was a minute fight again. So we've had a 1.5 minute fight and a 1 minute fight. It means we're down to 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Great positioning from Sydney Drop Bears right now, and they're killing the right targets. They did leave Turmo alive slightly long, but right now, Quats is the one that's leading the way for Sydney Drop Bears. He's the MVP for Sydney Drop Bears. 3 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. Jordation has a pulse bomb, and he's going to let it rip early on into that big pack of players, but it's going to be Billa with the Dragon Blade, picks up 2 kills, and that's going to be surely the fight win for Sydney Drop Bears. Although USMC Molotov still hanging around along with Punk.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult though sometimes if you don't have enough tanks to push through. We'll see Mooney now starting just to get healed up there with that ultimate ready to go. I think a Primal Rage in this particular situation is very, very useful, if not always, I suppose. Turmo. Now, if Turmo can get a good tack visor, can get this unabated, then he will do a ton of damage coming through. That's what we can see right now, ready to go. But in the back line is Jordation, causing a little bit of havoc there. We'll follow out USMC right now, who does get found out there by Quads. Turmo pushing through once again, staying alive, but not able to, or not in a good position to pop that tack visor and push on through. USMC's gone down. Punk's been found out as well. So now Darkside, one by one, just starting to lose these players. The Drop Bears eating away at this time, eating away at the time bank. And now with 2.5 minutes on the clock, what looked like a great attack 5 minutes ago from Darkside is looking less and less good.
It's almost like the anti-snowball in a sense that if you don't get that first point, the second point on the first push, then it becomes very difficult. And Darksided are sort of conceding right now by not using their ultimates. They might wait for USMC, but of course he can build up the pulse bomb quite quickly. 2 minutes left for Darksided here, but Sydney Drop Bears, the way they've been playing it, they've been fighting it on their terms. This time it starts off on Darksided's terms with a kill onto Jordation. They have to fight this one and surely commit their ultimates.
That's a good start. If they can find one more pick, that's going to be even better. They have so many ultimates left to go. And Turmo on that tack visor, you can see the Trance coming through at the same time. But Turmo getting forced down onto the ground, cleaned up by Quats. That tactical visor really having no power at all in this situation. So, Darksided, they've lost one. They're not going to lose a second for now. The self-destruct will manage to keep Punk alive as he will try and get back into that mech and does so successfully. Trance coming through. Billa going to go down with the Dragon Blade, and that is less than ideal. Quads finds one, but still only 4 alive now for the Drop Bears as Darksided continue to push through. Maybe they find their second, third here. Can the Drop Bears hold them back?
All 6 ultimates used for Darksided, but Billa, he has got a Dragon Blade still available. Quats does die. It might come down to Billa and Shoyo with the Self-Destruct and the Dragon Blade, as it is going to be Punk's mech pop now. He'll be pretty much dying straight away. Billa pops the Dragon Blade. Still feels like there's a threat, but I'm not sure if there really was. And that means going into what is essentially going to be the final fight. Darksided might only have a pulse bomb, to their name. Sydney, though, will have the self-destruct and they will have the nano boost.
Feels to me like Drop Bears could hold this point for eternity right now. They are doing a very good job. Darksided haven't had a successful push since the first one we saw where they got to that 59.7%, and now they still have 66% to push through here. We'll see whether it can work out for them this time around. USMC throws out the pulse bomb, finds absolutely nothing other than the dojo itself. So that is less than ideal. It's going to go down there. Quad's going to get taken back by Turmo. Jordation brings one back, self-destruct over the top. Going to find no one. Shoyo going to get picked up as well. So Darksided looking okay now on attack. But the Drop Bears going to be able to push through one at a time, back onto that point. And Jordation finds 2. And with 6 seconds on the clock, maybe that is that.
And I think that will be that as Punk falls asleep, then dies. And it is going to be a successful defensive hold from the Sydney Drop Bears. 6.5 minutes cut to 0. And no second checkpoint for Darksided has been captured. So definitely the strong performance from Sydney there defensively. Now Darksided need to respond, but again, as I said before on the desk, this roller coaster of a series so far. Darksided win the first checkpoint in the first fight very quickly, and from then, for the next 6.5 minutes, they weren't able to get anything to go their way.
Yeah, it's actually quite a long time, particularly as you get more and more frustrated. At the start, you're like, oh, we did pretty well. You push again, oh, we wasted a minute. You push again, oh, we wasted 90 seconds. Oh, there's 2.5 minutes on the clock. We don't have that many ultimates. We have a lot of work to do. We're at a disadvantage. And the pressure starts to pile on. In the end, they just weren't there. Honestly, I thought maybe that Termo there on the Soldier was going to be enough. We've seen a lot of good Soldiers, maybe more so on defense than attack, coming into the second point here on Hanamura. But every time you can come through and get that damage without being contested, it is very, very useful. But really, the Drop Bears were very good at shutting him down.
They were, and a lot of that was thanks to Shoyo and Quartz. They had tanks, but they will be in your face, they will be aggressive, and they will look for Termo. They know he's the primary target. There's not much that you can really do to contain USMC. He's a tracer, he's blinking around, he's fast, he's a bit too hard to catch, kind of hoping that Jordation will eventually maybe find him and get and win that fight. But for Shoyo and Quartz, they know that Termo's the guy that's going to be providing a lot of the consistent damage rather than the burst damage. If you take him out of that fight, it changes the attack for Darksided completely, and expect to really see them do that again here. Even on attack, they're going to look for Termo as their dive-in potential. Termo and Molotov are the two targets, and then probably Swilko that they're going to look to really focus on, take them out immediately, then switch their attention. So USMC needs to pretty much have that. He's got that free reign to run around. He's got to make it worthwhile.
Correct. You really need to make the most of it. You cannot afford to get caught out while the rest of your team is in the back line fighting it out and losing that battle. So it was a pretty good push from Darkside when they attacked on point A. Let's see whether the Drop Bears can do the same as they now come into attack. And, well, they're in a pretty good position to pick this one up, to be perfectly honest. They do need to get past this very first point. They're going to get round the corner. This is how it started last time. But so far, no one has fallen down. Jordation staying alive. Everyone on defense looking pretty good as well. USMC getting tagged up a little bit, but staying alive. That's all you need to do there as that tracer.
All 6 members get through. I've seen teams that lose a member and they still commit with 5. They like this strat, the wrapping around on the high ground. Darkside are trying to respond by getting back with a bit of cover. It doesn't work because an early push from Sydney Drop Bears means they find Molotov and they're being aggressive. Now they turn their attention over to the point. They want to get that one pretty quickly. Recall from USMC keeps him alive. He's got 96%, so the pulse bomb's going to fly out pretty shortly. Darkside need to re-engage. They've completely lost all position on the point. USMC around the back.
Yeah, Tomo's gone down in the meantime as well. Jordation pushing through, finds the D-Mech as well, so that's nice work. Punk going down in the end, and now a very strong push from the Drop Bears. Should be able to secure point A. They'll have 230 plus, like, what, 4, 6.5. Not bad at all. That's pretty much what we saw from Darksided. Let's see whether the Drop Bears can do a better job than Darksided did on attack. You'd say surely they can, but this is Darksided.
Yep.
They should still be able to hold.
And on top of that, they only need 59.7%. They don't need the whole pizza. They only need 3/4 of it.
I'll take that.
And Billa, Bertlog, the Valkyrie and the Dragon Blade. Kraken will have the Transcendence. Sydney Drop Bears are well equipped in this next fight. Swilko, the Nano Boost, USMC held onto that pulse bomb. It might be vital, but he throws it at the wall. That's not a player. Mooney, though, with a kill onto Bertlog, does die. The return kill from Jordation means it's 5v5, but with the shorter distance to walk back from, that's a win for Darksided.
Man, sometimes I feel like you just need a map that's like Pulse Bomb basketball, Pulse Bomb netball, right? Where you just practice throwing the Pulse Bomb to people. Because time and time again, it must be hard. It just doesn't work. You're trying to avoid the right click coming out from D.Va. You don't want it to get eaten in the defense matrix. The Darksided here on defense. They have 1, 2, 3. Oldie's ready to go. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 now for the Drop Bears on attack. Jordation about to make that 6. They're going to have a full house plus 1 here ready to go. And if the time was ever, the time is now for the Drop Bears to push on through. Jordation with a Pulse Bomb. Going to find anyone? No, not this time. A little bit harder up against the Tracer. You can see Darksided almost ready to go with a ton of ultimates of their own here as this fight is prolonged. Billa ready to go as well with that Dragon Blade. The time is not now. Just trying to stay alive, trying to work this through with the team. There's no point in using it if everyone else is being picked up. It's a 1-for-1. Actually, Darksided finds another. And the Drop Bears, whilst they have the ultimates, they don't have the players right now.
The Swilko Nano Boost onto the Primal Rage. Mooney held up so much time of that push from Sydney Drop Bears, but because those ults had been committed early, then the kills followed from Darksided. Have a look at Sydney Drop Bears. The ults weren't used. They realized they weren't winning that fight. They pulled up. They know they got 4 minutes and 45 seconds. It's something Darksided didn't do on attack. They would have committed ultimates to that when it wasn't in their favor, which means they wouldn't be coming into this next fight with a completely superior bank. I mean, it's 6 ultimates to 4. It can't get much more obvious than that. Sydney Drop Bears, they have all the tools required to get the 59.7%. They've still got all that time left as well if it doesn't work here.
Yeah, one of the hardest things in the game, I think, is holding on to your ultimate. And the Drop Bears did it well last time. Let's see whether they're going to use them in the right way this time around. You can hear Turmo there with that tack visor. This time, though, he is on defense. Maybe going to have a little bit more success. Still alive, finds Spot. That's great. Dragonblade going to come through. Molotov going to go down. Bella wants to find a kill. So you can see there that a grenade coming on top makes life a little bit more difficult. Self-destruct comes through. But so many kills now coming out from the Drop Bears. They're looking in a very good position here on attack. They've done so much work. They only need 60%. That will be enough. And one after one, you can see the nano boost coming through on to Mooney, but I don't know if it's going to be enough here on defense. They have the defensive advantage. Is it going to be enough?
And Kraken still had that Transcendence though, so it limited the damage from Mooney, who now gets that Primal Rage back. Darksided could be able to flip this one around, and it's going to be the Doomfist. It's Swirlgo. He said he was going to bring it out, and he does, and he gets a bit of a help from Punk. Confirms a kill. Billa still alive in all of this though, but finally perishes, and Darksided might have averted Crisis. They might have been able to survive this. They have been able to survive this. 3 minutes and 20 seconds. There was 12 ultimates used, Ben.
Wow.
And none of it really mattered because it's still been held. It's 25% obviously has been capped now though for Sydney, but 59% is the target. 3 minutes remaining, and we all sort of breathe again.
Yeah, well, the Darksided bringing it back from the jaws of defeat. They've got the ball. They need to hold on to it now. They haven't won this yet. They still have a ton of work to do here on defense. Drop Bears, on the other hand, they threw away all those ultimates into that battle. As you said, so did Darksided. They still have a shot. They've still got 2.5 minutes. That's a ton of time. And they only need to find that last third, and that'll be enough. They don't even need to go the whole way. And Mooney going to be the first one picked up here on defense. That is definitely less than ideal. If Jordache can find some sort of key pulse bomb, or perhaps Billa there as well, that's a great job coming through. They want to stay alive. They don't want to get caught out by the self-destruct. So far, so good. So close. Is this going to be enough? One by one, Darksided trickle onto the point, but it is not going to be enough. Drop Bears coming through on Hanamura. The assault map that was picked by Darksided, the map that we said was the map that Darksided should win. They did well on A. They struggled so hard coming into point B on attack. AVRL, wow.
Yeah, this is another really heartbreaking loss for Darksided. Unfortunately, this is those two maps that we expected Drop Bears to get. Now do we start to think about the other side of that, though? Drop Bears looking like they can get at least a 3-1, maybe a 3-2 here. I do also want to talk about Quats once again, though, defensively. Look, he manages to get these Primal Rages within the fights. Darksided, not only do they get an opening pick, it was Jordation going down to Turmo on one of the fights. It was also Bertlog going down to Molotov on another attack from Darksided. 6v5. They go into those fights. Quats and the rest of his team can stay alive long enough. Quats, without starting with the Primal Rage on about 20 or less % ult charge, gets a Primal in that same fight.
What is that from? How do you do that, Pixie? Is he just in their face time and time again? He's using that Tesla cannon. He's doing damage.
I mean, to put it in like the simplest terms, it's optimal Winston play. But yeah, like I mean, that's certainly part of it. That nitty gritty is getting into the back lines of the fight. It's how well you're able to stay alive. It's how much damage you're absorbing with your bubbles. And the more optimally you can use every little bit of Winston's kit, the better off you're gonna be with charging that up, right? It's you know, getting kills on squishies with Tesla cannons. It's having the area control. It's blocking key things with your bubble, and it's tanking. It's tanking effectively. It's getting extremely low, but being in a good position such that you can keep getting topped off, stay in the fight for longer. And that's really where it all comes from.
Xenox, as much as I said I thought Drop Bears would pick this up, even that map surprises me. It felt really quite one-sided.
It kind of. I felt like there was maybe going to be a slight turnaround once we saw Darksided hold off that 6 ultimate attack from Sydney Drop Bears. I thought possibly the roller coaster would find another angle to dip on down, but in the end, it is now 2-1 in favor of the Sydney Drop Bears, and you know, we are going to be seeing the next map is going to be on Escort. If the Sydney Drop Bears win, that's the series over. But if Darksided win, obviously the final map will be on Control, and that's where Darksided were able to win in the first map, which means that if they win the next one, I kind of feel like then they can win, obviously, the 5th map as well.
And I mean, Escort's kind of the wild card here, right? Because, of course, everywhere we've seen Darksided ultimately lose it out has been where you've had that situation of an entrenched position that Darksided are trying to aggress onto. It's point B of Hanamura, it's point A of Hollywood. You don't have that on Escort. It is completely fluid, it's completely momentum-based, and we actually saw Darksided pull out a really great defense in that situation on Hollywood against Sydney Drop Bears. So assuming they can repeat that and then their own momentum-based gameplay on the offense is solid, I think there is a lot of room for this to be a very different kind of game. And then, of course, like you said, from there we're back onto Control, where it would be on Drop Bears to step it up. So this 2-1 lead, it's big, but it may not be that big at all.
It's actually the first time that we have seen Darksided drop an assault map during Contenders in Australia. So that's a pretty big deal coming into this one. So let's go and take a look at what map Darksided will pick here. Moving on, it's going to be Junkertown. I know I love Junkertown. I know you love Junkertown. I don't know whether you do, but I'm going to say you do, Xenox. It's my favorite. Now, this is a pick again for Darksided. What do we think going into this one? For me, it was always Control and Assault was where these guys have been strong in Aussie Contenders. They did drop Dorado. They haven't dropped Junkertown yet, though.
No, Junkertown is their map. They'll be happy with this. Obviously, they're not happy being down 2-1, but they get to pick the map. And it's a map that they're pretty good on, and they should be winning in the end. And then, hopefully, them forcing the 5th and final map on a control point map. So, I think Junkertown, it favors Darksided. They'll be confident. They'll be probably a little bit upset right now that they're down in the series, but they won't be tilted.
But they are very well practiced on Junkertown, and specifically they're well practiced on the compositions you're going to see here. You will see Aristas, you will see the Roadhog as well. That's part of Darksided's kit here. We haven't seen it so far because the maps haven't favored that, but this is a well practiced arena for Darksided to finally show that side of them.
So are Darksided going to bring this back?
Well, I think that, you know, the one thing that touched on Junkertown is we don't make a play. It's a big thing, especially on that first point, and we've seen Termo. He's the better Widowmaker, Pixie.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think, like AVRL said, that plus some of the other compositional things here, like this is a place where Darksided really ought to feel confident, and I'm going to kind of steal that question away from you, Xenox, to answer you there, Ben. Yeah, I think this is absolutely a place that Darksided even should turn it around.
All right, so that's the consensus of the desk. Everyone's sticking to their guns. They say Darksided is going to pick up Junkertown. Look, I have my doubts, Xenox, okay? I'm on the Drop Bears bandwagon. That's where I've hung my hat, to be perfectly honest. I probably don't want to put my hat on a Drop Bear because it's probably going to get destroyed or get some sort of flea or something like that. But today, we've let them into the studio, and they're playing very, very well. And of course, what a better way to finish it off here if you are the Drop Bears than to do it in your home country of Australia here on Junkertown. The Drop Bears on defense, Darksided coming out on attack. What are we seeing here from Darksided on this offense?
Well, it's USMC on the Widowmaker, as we kind of pointed out. Ironically, Termo's the guy that plays Widowmaker for the team, but USMC plays it here on Junkertown because Termo plays the Junkrat. But a great defensive start for the Sydney Drop Bears. They're pushing up super early. Their position right now is not generally where teams hold here on Junkertown, and this might be throwing Darksided off a little bit.
They're actually quite far forward. They got the initial pick, and now they're sitting quite a distance forward there. As you can see, in Termo going to go down again to Jordation. Not having that Junkrat can be very, very difficult as well. Have to wait, have to hold back. But I love trying to see them get this Bastion up here, get the pirate ship going, and well, they did manage to get it going finally. I think they left the anchor on the ship down earlier, but they're going much, much better now on attack. Who's going to win the Battle of the Widows? That's the real question. Oh! Jordation this time around.
Yeah, Jordation, you know, we kind of mentioned Termo and the Widow, but to be fair and to be honest, I completely forgot that it is USMC that plays the Widow on Junkertown, and you probably give the chocolates over to Jordation over the long haul. But so far, the pirate ship is working out with Molotov, obviously usually a support. It's worked out well for Darksided, and they get through what is generally a tricky first point hold. It's not over yet. Shoyo coming in to not give up on this point. Birdlog even popping the Valkyrie. Sydney Drop Bears just want to throw everything, at least delay the time at the end, but it is going to be the first point going the way of Darksided. They've got 5 minutes, man.
They do. That's a ton of time. A great start considering how average that first minute here on attack went for Darksided. So, going to be able to push it through to phase number 2 on Junkertown. And the benefit of this, the benefit of pushing through and doing so whilst your opponents trickle on to point A, is that you can get so far forward here and get so much extra room, get so much extra distance on that payload.
Yep. Punk will almost have that supercharger available. Shoyo with a self-destruct, 4.5 minutes. Darksided obviously want to be able to get off to a good start here on Junkertown. They expect to win this map. They well and truly do. But if they would have gotten off to a poor start, the tilt might start to set in a little bit, because they knew if they don't win this map, they're out of here. They're going home with nothing.
There is no second chance. There is no resurrection available for your Contenders opportunity today. You are down and you are out. So everything is on the line. Termo ready to go, as you said, with that Riptide. We'll see whether it gets used or not. Punk actually going to lose the supercharger straight away as well to Shoyo. Riptide, here we go. You're going to follow that one through. Finds Bertlog. That's a nice pick. They'll probably always be happy to take that one. No resurrection available right now, and the payload continues to push. Darksided has had such a good phase number 2. To be fair, they have looked strong since they got that pirate ship started on phase 1.
Yeah, it's a snowball right now here on the streets phase of Junkertown, but it's expected. The second point, or the streets phase of Junkertown, is not one that the defense generally are able to hold out for too long. Generally, if ever. 5 minutes coming into this third stage. This is where Sydney Drop Bears need to shine a bit more. The hook, but he is going to get saved. Bertlog able to stay alive. Obviously, Roadhog's hook shot combo is not quite as strong as it used to be.
Yeah, not as great. You can hear the Valkyrie coming through right now as well. Mooney going to go down to Jordation. Finally, we see a pulse bomb that's actually useful. Sorko picked up as well, even though did manage to get the Roadhog back. You can see the Drop Bears with the players. The Drop Bears now with that spawn advantage as well. So this is going to be a little bit tougher for Darksided to push their way through with so much time on the clock, so much time to work with.
Yeah, a lot of time. They wouldn't be stressing at all with that. Sydney Drop Bears, though, would be happy that they won that fight without also committing a whole lot of ultimates. They just don't have the Primal Rage from Quats. Otherwise, they've got all 5 still up here on defense. 4 minutes, it's a lot of time. And Termo's going to go with a very early Riptide here to try and find a way to make them have the numerical advantage. He's unable to do that. He pings Quats, gets him quite low. But the Valkyrie immediately from Bertlog means there's going to be a lot more healing. Quats is going to be back to full health now.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether he actually forced that self-destruct out of Shoyo, perhaps, by picking up the mech, doing a little bit of damage. But in the end, the fight going to continue nonetheless. Everyone's still alive, as I said. Jordation and Quats both going to go down. Drop Bears looking a little bit less good now on defense. USMC still ready with that pulse bomb. Billa going to push through with the Dragon Blade as well, looking so strong. Can he find a pick? There's 2. That's huge. Both the supports now down for Darksided, and maybe Billa has saved the Drop Bears here.
3 minutes and 20 seconds, Drop Bears holding on, but obviously there's a long way for that payload to move before it's even going to get close to being captured for Darksided. They win this fight yet again. It's a good spot to hold for the Sydney Drop Bears as well. If that payload's on the same position but on the other side of this roundabout bend, that's going to be very difficult for Sydney to then hold on, because there's a lot more avenues for Darksided to push forward. Right now, they're all just sort of channeling through the same corridor section. USMC trying to get underneath and try and flank around, but he knows where Quats is. Quats is almost like a primary target. He's that effective for Sydney.
Well, we've heard AVRL talk about Quats time and time again. He's done so much across this tournament, so much particularly in today. But Jordation right now is the one doing work, finds 2, and that is going to be huge. They try a little bit to get some back, but you'll see the Darkside are now going to start regrouping here on attack. They're going to drop back, get all their players ready to go. Jordation going to get resurrected. Find Bertlog as well. The defense is ready, the attack is almost ready, but the ultimate advantage right now is sitting on the side of Darksided.
2 minutes and 17 seconds, as you said. The ult economy in favor of Darksided, but the ults that they have don't necessarily mean that they're going to be able to win the next fight. They'd like to have a Pulse Bomb, they'd like to have a Dragon Blade, but they don't, and they've also lost Molotov super early to a Jordation. They do respond to the Kraken dying, and then the revive and a Molotov makes it a 6v5 now in favor of Darksided with just under 2 minutes. They need to get that payload pushing forward though, get some distance on it.
Yeah, need to get that payload moving. USMC does find one. Jordation brings it back. Billa throws out the Dragon Blade. He needs to actually find someone. Termo actually going to follow him on out. Finds no one right now. So less than good. Maybe it's one of those famous zoning Dragon Blades.
I mean, less than good's usually quite bad, but luckily USMC was able to get 2 kills. Pulse Bomb comes out, but it's unable to find Quats. He's now able to jump back in with full health, and with a Billa Dragon Blade into the backline, wipes out Termo. USMC follows suit from Quats. The aggressiveness of Sydney Drop Bears, it's so dangerous. 1 minute and 15 seconds. Darksided stopped dead in their tracks.
The Drop Bears have actually done quite well here on this third phase of Junkertown. The defense has been pretty good considering how average the rest of the map has gone for them. This is where obviously they need to make their stand. They do not have very much space to work with, I suppose, but the inverse of that, Darksided, really not that much time.
No, they're down to 50 seconds remaining, and Molotov has a Transcendence Punk with a Self-Destruct. Mooney will have that Primal Rage, but on the other side of the coin, the Sydney Drop Bears have got their own Pulse Bomb from Jordation, who has been really informed right now. He's going to use it quite early, and a very early Transcendence from a Kraken. Darksiders need to stay alive during this Transcendence, and if they can, now with Molotov's Transcendence available and used, Darksiders need to find these kills.
They certainly do. They don't want to lose too much more time. A Kraken's gone down. Billa brings it back, but Termo takes that Quartz. That is huge. Jordation pushing through. You can see the payload was ticking, but no longer. The Drop Bears, only a couple of players left alive. They will start respawning, coming through, but 3 ultimates ready now for Darksided. That self-destruct goes off. Still Mooney, USMC, and Punk ready to go. Termo now with that Dragonblade just needs to stay alive. That's not the case. No one's there. They're not even fighting on the point.
They're not fighting on the payload. There was only 2 members of Sydney Drop Bears alive at one point, and they weren't pushing that payload. Finally, of course, they have to get on it now because the overtime bar wakes up and shows itself. Mooney with the Primal Rage. Darksiders have got 4 more ultimates to use here. Sydney Drop Bears, none. Bertlock close to the Valkyrie and Billa close to the Dragonblade, but they're not up yet. And if they do die, they won't obviously be up for a little while longer. The overtime bar is shrinking down. I'm so confused by Darksiders' positioning here, but they get Quartz. That's the start with the Dragonblade. It's Termo popping off. He's picked up 3 kills, and the advantage to Darksiders now. They've got to get that payload moving forward, Ben.
It's still quite a distance away, and the Drop Bears should theoretically have time to be able to bring this one back. Make one last defense here. The payload, there's not even anyone there. Everyone's alive practically for Darksided, but no one actually wants to sit on the payload and push it through because it's taken so long. The Drop Bears are going to have one last opportunity to jump on in. Quat's going to try and time this as best as he possibly can. A little bit outnumbered now. USMC with the Pulse Bomb finds no one this time around. Tries to push through. A Kraken goes down. That's good for Darksided. It's a 6v5. That one comes back. Quats goes down now. Looking less good for the Drop Bears, but they will have the trickle. They need to find them back. They need to pick up one by one. Bertlock brings the Kraken back. Punk goes down. USMC looking low. He goes down. Maybe this is going to be a hold here for the Drop Bears. They are doing so much work on defense. Darksided, surely they can't throw this one away. Surely they need to capture this 3rd point.
1.87 meters left. The Molotov dies. It was revived from Swalgo. Termo, here you go, but it's going to be the Dragonblade. Only gets a Kraken. Is there anyone still left on the point? Mooney close to a Primal Rage, but it's not going to come up quick enough. Punk, nerf this, but it's on top of the point. Billa does die, but he's got no more help. Gets back into a mech. Delay time, but it's not going to be enough. Surely pushed off it, and Sydney Drop Bears will hold it 0.03 meters away.
Wow.
What an attack. What a defense. What a round there of Junkertown.
It's literally one of those old school 30-centimeter rulers that everyone in Australia would know back from when you were a kid. That's the distance. That's all that remained between Darksided and picking up point number 3 there with the payload. But the Drop Bears, they got there in the nick of time. I can't help but feel that you're right. I cannot help but feel that what cost Darksided here was not being on the payload.
They weren't pushing it, were they? I mean, there was almost a point where there was no one from Sydney Drop Bears even out of spawn, and they got off the point. The payload almost ticked down completely. It was a quick last-second leaps from Mooney to get back on it.
And you could see that Quats was waiting, right? Quats had so much time that he could wait for the rest of his team to come through. He would have been forced to jump on that maybe 5 seconds earlier had they been pushing the payload before. Instead, he just gets to hang back, and when he does dive on, the rest of his team gets there within a couple of seconds and can keep him alive, can keep the dream going here. The Drop Bears on defense, and now they move through to attack. They don't even need to go through to overtime here. We don't need to restart this map. They just need to pick up 3.
Yeah, they do. I mean, essentially, if they get 3, that's the 0.3 extra meters, isn't it?
Yeah,
So it's one and the same, if you will. And defensively, it is going to be one and the same defensively. For Darksided's defense coming out with USMC on that Widowmaker. But what we saw from Darksided's attack was that Jordation had the better of USMC completely. So US is going to have to try and overturn that.
There is a lot of work to be done here by Darksided on defense. So they picked this map. We talked about how they should be better here as well.
Their map.
You'd like to think so, that they can do it. Probably want to, if they need to do a lot of work right now here on the 1st point.
They definitely do. Defensively, they need to probably at least hold this out for 2 minutes. That's the minimum. That's sort of the path of the course here for Darksided's defense. 2 minutes, and they won't be too upset. But if this is going to be one and done and a quick push from Sydney Drop Bears, it's not good enough on Junkertown. It just doesn't work like that with this Orisa Roadhog combination. It shouldn't be that easy. And the only way that's probably going to happen is if Jordation can get 2 picks or so, and USMC is unable to answer back. He does get a bit of damage onto Shoyo. But so far, it is just easy movement for Sydney Drop Bears. Darkside are just not wanting to contest. They look shook, shaken, and not wanting to contest, and they've lost Punk.
They certainly do. Turmo finds one back. Villa going down by Jordation. Almost having free range here, you would like to say, on the Widow. Oh, my Riptide looked like it was going to do some damage. It actually does. Finds both Villa and Quads. And that was precisely what Darksided need. Jordation trying to do the work, trying to find the mercy. He does. Wilco goes down. Turmo picked up as well. So this maybe brings it back. A Kraken's found Molotov. And the payload should start moving once again. A Kraken pushing through with that whole hog, trying to do the damage.
Mooney has his own hold hog as well, but I think the payload's actually moving right now. No one from Darksided on the payload, finally getting to it to at least stop it from moving on over. It's almost like they've got a contagious disease and they don't want to infect the payload and get too close. For 2.5 minutes, they're almost at that par for the cause, but they probably should have done better than that, all things considered, the way that last fight went. Molotov, his Transcendence finally fades away, but USMC finds a pick. It's onto Quats, and it does open things up for Darksided. They get Billow as well. They need to be aggressive, push forward and get more, clean up the Sydney Drop Bears and force them back to spawn, and they do.
This is the hold the Darksided needed. If they can hold here, if they can hold in phase 2, they're going to take up so much time.
They're 2 minutes away from essentially forcing this to the 5th and final map of the series. It's in their hands, essentially. So we'll go with the Valkyrie as well. And it's not like Sydney Drop Bears are stacked economy-wise in terms of ultimates. Yes, they'll have the Riptire in the next fight, and that's going to be crucial. That might be the turning point for Sydney Drop Bears' attack. And here it comes.
That is less than ideal, but a Kraken will find Mooney there. There's another one. Swooker goes down. That's great work coming out from the Drop Bears, and they may not need any ult economy. This might be enough. This might be the picks that they want. As that payload pushes through, looks like they're going to pick up the first phase with ease. We thought maybe that this could be the hold, but in the end, the picks were too strong.
Yeah, early picks, very early, and then Sydney are an aggressive team. The Drop Bears will not waste any time. They will push forward, and when they know they've got the advantage, they will take it with both hands, and that's what they did. Darksided got a couple of picks back, but it was not enough to delay the point from being captured. 3 minutes and 40 seconds. This Streets phase, though, if Darksided can get a hold here, it might be enough, but otherwise, I'm kind of expecting the Sydney Drop Bears to just roll on through here, like what we saw Darksided do.
Well, maybe this first hold coming out from Darksided should be enough. We saw the Supercharger come out. We saw the Riptire come out. It's going to slow them down. 3 minutes 20 on the clock, but now Darksided really don't have that much on defense to work with. They will have the Trance. They will have the whole hog, but they need to use those sparingly because they want to make the most of this. They do not want to go into phase 3 with a ton of time on the clock. There it is. The Trance is now used. Jordation, though, lurking around from behind. He would love to find himself a Widowmaker's scalp. And USMC will go down. Molotov's been picked up as well. Mooney, the last hope, potentially. Whole hog trying to find one. It's only Shoyo with the D-Mech right now. Kraken going to be resurrected as well by Bertlog. And I think this payload will keep on moving. But Darksided surely will have one last chance to hold this at point 2.
Shoyo's mech was popped. He has to go back to spawn, change hero, then pop back over to the Diva and gets his mech back. 2 minutes and 30 seconds. It will there definitely is enough time here for a contest from Darksided, but they have no ultimates to play with. Jordation has a pulse bomb and he can pretty much snuff out the fight immediately if he finds a target. But what about that for a start? A Kraken dead early. The revive should be on cooldown and he's not going to have it because Bertlog is also dead. 2 for 2 trade though, Ben. It's 4v4.
Yeah, that's not a bad start to be honest, but the implementation there, I guess, from Darksided was less than ideal in the end as 2 come back. Shoyo's been demeched, as you can see. The Drop Bear's not on the payload right now. Just contested. It's not moving anywhere now. They're going to get a move on. Villa coming out with the Dragon Blade, trying to chase down these last players. He would love to find Punk. He wants to stagger this defense, and Quads has found one as well. So the Drop Bears on attack. They should be able to get point 2, and they will right now. We take a look at the clock. 3:15 is where it's at. They've got a bit of work to do, but it is so definitely possible. And they know right now that if they win this, if they get this payload from point 2 to point 3, they win their semi-final.
It might not be the 5th and final map, but it certainly feels like it's do or die right now. 3 minutes away from finding out if the Sydney Drop Bears are going to be into the first Australian Contenders Land Finals Grand Final, or if Darksided are going to force the 5th control point map, which they would be favored on and feeling quite comfortable. So Billa with an early kill onto Molotov, but the ults are there for Darksided, and they've got the positioning. This is kind of a difficult spot for Sydney to push through, but they're going to do it with Quats and Shoyu up first. They look for the targets on the high ground.
You can hear the Valkyrie used in the background. Of course, that Resurrect has been used now as well, but Mooney, the first one to go down. That Pulse Bomb actually managed to get a Kraken in the meantime, so no trans coming through. What can Turmo do with the Dragon Blade? He's swinging it around, but now he's forced back by that self-destruct. Punk actually finding 2. That's a huge play coming out from Darksided. Maybe that's going to be enough to give them a chance here. Billa doing what he can, but going to need to use that translocator potentially to get out of dodge very, very shortly. Not going to be the case. Goes down anyway. 2 minutes on the clock. The drop bear's looking okay, particularly when Jordacious can find these picks.
Just under 2 minutes. Still a lot of time for Sydney drop bears, but they only have the EMP and the Pulse Bomb available. Quat's quite close, though, to a Primal Rage. It's actually a decent little recipe of ultimates for the Sydney drop bears because only the Transcendence and the Primal Rage available for Darksided right now, and they're quite a while away from having a Dragon Blade, a Valkyrie, and a Self-Destruct. USMC should be able to build up to a Pulse Bomb, but he hasn't really been too effective with them so far. 1 minute and 30 seconds, but the payload is moving. It's about 39 meters away, coming around the final bend here on Junkertown. What's Billa going to be able to find here with the EMP? It could shape the entire fight. One
good EMP can change everything. We've seen that time and time again. I think he just wants that translocator ready to go. He can throw it over the top and get a pick. Maybe, though, got to look out here for Turmo, who might get picked up in the back line. See you later. Shoyo finds that pick. The drop bear's now in great positioning with 1 minute on the clock. Billa looking for a really strong EMP. He throws out the right click, just gets the hack instead. Turmo's been brought back, but Mooney goes down. You can hear the Dragon Blade in the background, but nothing going down at the moment. There's the EMP. Is it going to be enough? Is it going to get them through? One by one, though, Darksided are finding picks, the picks that they need to have here on defense.
Punk has just absolutely saved Darksided's skin right now. The huge hack onto Mooney meant he couldn't pop the Primal Rage and keep himself alive, which confirmed the kill for the City Drop Bears. But they used ultimates. They used the EMP. It's not going to come back. 30 seconds left. A Pulse Bomb, a Valkyrie, and possibly the Transcendence. But there will be no self-destruct. There'll be no Primal Rage for Sydney Drop Bears. Although I wouldn't count out Quats 2 yet. He's pretty quick to fill them up. Jordacious, you're going to have to find something with a Pulse Bomb, or we might be going to the 5th and final map.
So very close. I would love to see map 5. So with Darksided, the drop bears on the other hand. Want to end it here and now. The right click going to go through, trying to hold that back. The Pulse Bomb not very successful. A Kraken over the top, ready to go with a trance of his own. We'll see how big of a play this can be. The self-destruct comes through, doesn't find anyone. When are we going to see it?
He got the kill onto Billa, though. The overtime bar ticks up. Transcendence available for a Kraken. Quats is actually so close to getting that Primal Rage, and it could turn the fight. Molotov, he's bragging out. It's the support who's picking up the kills and getting Darksided an avenue of being able to get the numerical advantage. Turmo with the Dragon Blade, the backline. No one on the point, and Sydney Drop Bears lose it to Darksided. We're going to a map 5.
Wow, that is what we wanted to see, and I think, to be fair, that is precisely what Darksided needed. It's easy to say, well, if they lose that one, they lose the game. But the reality is, even if that was one game ago, I think them now bringing that back puts them in a great position, both mentally for them, perhaps maybe mentally for the Drop Bears, who were, to be fair, very, very close, in a great position just to lock this out. And now we move to Oasis and Pixie. Wow, that was incredible.
I mean, the thing that really gets me about that is, I have to say, actually, Sydney Drop Bears were firing on all cylinders for the most part. Like, you saw, I mean, again, just how devastating the dive was. Often the counter dive was doing far more work than whatever Darksided were able to do. We're always seeing Quats pulling weight. The best fights for Darksided did, by sheer happenstance, happened to be the ones where Quats was getting focused down, picked off early, and there was just a lot less that Drop Bears were able to do, but the sheer amount of success they were having was absolutely dumbfounding. The fact that Darksided were then able to get just enough to pull out a win, I think actually speaks to their strength above all else. Like we said, it was one they should have won. Feels like it came quite close, but closer than I personally expected, but it's there, and then they get to take it back to control. This is exactly what Darksided were after.
What do we think about Darksided on attack? Phase 1 started off slow. They pushed their way through. Phase 2, they were so quick, but coming through to that third and final phase on Junkertown, Darksided, I'm not even sure what they were doing. What do you
Well,
think,
the thing
Avril?
is, I want to talk about where Darkside are succeeding, where they are not, right? And a lot of that has to happen on the A point. And I'm going to touch up on both sides of that because the difference maker on the A point is you'll notice Quats is playing Orisa. Now, the problem is, I don't have an issue with Quats' Orisa. I think he's got a good Orisa, but his Winston is way better. So when Quats is forced onto not the Winston, you can see that the drop bears don't get priority. They don't have the initiation. They have to play much slower. That plays into Darkside advantages. So when you go back to that A point again, Sydney Drop Bears defense, not so good. They lost an A reasonably convincingly. Sydney Drop Bears A attack, not so good. Spent 2 to 3 minutes. That 2 to 3 minutes extra on the A ended up costing them at the end of the day.
Yeah, like I said, just enough for Darksided, and also the fact that they were even able to mount a kind of point B defense somewhere there, which Drop Bears were not able to do really at all. Like, it is a game of inches kind of situation. We saw that right at the end. It sucked that Darksided weren't able to quite get it over the line. Like you said, that was just one standard ruler measurement.
Yeah.
But Drop Bears were well shy of that, all things considered, and it was that 2.5 minutes that made that difference.
It was, certainly, and the time plays such a huge part in this. But it's time right now to take a look at our third and final. And by third and final, I mean fifth and final. As we go to Oasis, we haven't seen Oasis really that often at all this season. It's quite nice that we come to control here in the end. Something that surely Darksided will be feeling confident on.
Well, they're favored, aren't they? I mean, that's sort of why I guess we all picked 3 and 2 for Darksided, because we knew there was going to be 2 control point maps in these 5 overall maps, and I think that we're going to be seeing Darksided take it out 3 and 2 and possibly have 3 correct predictions.
Yeah, well, first time for everything, boys. First time for everything.
The reason why I actually think they're favored here in a way is because we've already seen Term onto the fire on Ilios. We've seen how effective that is. The second reason is Darksided have stayed to themselves. They're very prepared against Sydney Drop Bears. Specifically, they're prepared against Billa onto the Sombra. We've seen that time and time again. Not a single game-changing EMP from Billa so far. He has not been super effective on the Sombra. The only bamboozle right now is Billa's been mostly playing Genji. I wonder what's going to happen on Oasis. Does Billa go back to Sombra? Because it does favor Sombra on that map, but if he does Darksided read that? Because they are very prepared against it.
Right, that's the thing. Like, this is a decent Pharah map, sure, and that does help Termo out here, but I would say, especially compared to Ilios, it's actually a slightly better Sombra map even then. But I think you're completely right there, Avril. Unfortunately, on Ilios, Billa's Sombra was not having that same conversion. Also wasn't really happening on Junkertown that we just saw. I don't know that that's going to be the difference maker here.
Well, it's going to be a close one no matter what the score. We have 3 people on the desk saying that Darksided are going to win 3-2. And to be fair, they've been right so far. On the other hand, I say it's going to be the Drop Bears Xenox. This is absolutely huge for both of these teams. They are 1 Oasis away from making their way through the final. Everything they've done all season long comes down to now. It doesn't matter how they went during the season. It doesn't matter how they went 10 minutes ago. All that matters is how good they are at Oasis.
You just like being unique, don't you, Ben?
I'm sorry, mate. I have to... Look, I actually think the Drop Bears are going to win it. I'm happy to be wrong, but I want Darksided to prove it.
They have a chance, there's no doubt about that. It's not quite as clean cut. I think when we say 3-2, we still think it's probably going to be 1-1 and then come down to 99% to 99%, because that's how close this series has been. Molotov on the Moira. It's interesting to see that. It's actually Darkseid, by the way, on the blue side. Sydney Drop Bears are the red side.
Right, we'll just clarify that for you. You're not colorblind at home. We'll flip that across very shortly and get things going. But the point has been captured here. You can hear Reinhardt in the background trying to do some work, sounding so huge. But it's Molotov right now doing the defense, keeping Mooney alive with those heals. And wow, that's precisely what you want to see. They're trying to bring it back. Coalescence going to come through for now, keeping the rest of the team alive. Darkseid are doing what they can to bring this one back. You can hear the Riptide going through. It finds Mooney, and now no Reinhardt tank on defense.
Yeah, the 3 tank setup coming out for Darkseid right now just doesn't seem to be working out, because Jordation's McCree is slaughtering them. Tank shredding is what it is. And that's up to 34% now for the Sydney Drop Bears. We said it was going to be Darkseid. You said it was going to be Sydney Drop Bears. They're off to a great start here.
They certainly are. This is what they want. If they can get ahead, to be fair, this is what we saw on Ilios as well. It didn't pan out for them in the end, but it was so very close either way. I still suspect we are going to go to all 3 rounds here on Oasis. But for now, the Drop Bears do have the benefit. They're going to find 50%, and there's the sound barrier now going to come out for Darkseid to see what they can do. Push through. Termo as well. Going to use that Riptire. Should manage, maybe. No, not the D-Mech. It's not going to be close enough. Transcendent's going to come through as well, but they're trying to capture it back. They're doing a very good job. Graviton Surge is used. Traps a player behind the end. That's the Diva, but it shouldn't be enough. They maybe capture it back. Termo finds one. Villa goes down. That's his counterpart. And finally, it's 75% Dark-Sided. Find the capture.
Jordation's still lingering around, though, and he knows he can pop a couple of heads. And it's still not over yet. I know the point's being captured for Dark-Sided, but the Kraken finds a kill onto Termo. Jordation obviously still sticking around. Bill has a Riptire that he's going to let rip already. There's no breathing time here on Oasis. Billa climbing around the back line, trying to find a couple. He sees the barrier, though. That's keeping USMC safe. It finally dissipates, and he gets the kill.
Nice timing coming out indeed, and that's now a couple of bigs coming out from Drop Bears, and they should be able to capture it back at 75%. This is going to be very difficult for Dark-Sided to bring this back onto the point. They do have that Riptire on Termo, but it's going to need to be a good one, maybe combined with an absolutely insane Earth Shatter coming out from Mooney.
Well, I'm not sure how often Dark-Sided have played this composition, but the Lucio Moira with 3 tanks, we see it a bit in NA and even EU, but we don't really see it often here in the Australian region, and right now it's showing. They're only got 27%. They're struggling. Billa takes out the Riptire of Termo. The charge forward, it gets the landing stick onto Quats. That's the guy you want to take out immediately. Dark-Sided, you've got to win this fight. It's up to 99%, and they might just be able to flip the point.
Surely they can flip it. Quats is resurrected. They are contesting the point, but it doesn't matter because Dark-Sided will manage to get the ticks onto their side of things for now. That's a great start. That's what they need to do, but they have a ton of work to do here. They found Shoyo. That will slow things down. The Drop Bears just need one good push. Dark-Sided, on the other hand, they are starting to bank these ultimates.
And 46% for Dark-Sided, but we saw this a little bit on Ilios at times where Sydney were able to get to 99%. They were one fight away from capturing it. I think at one point we even saw it on Ruins, and of course we saw it on the first point on Well. But here we go. 60% for Dark-Sided from every fight on Woods. If they lose it, it's going to be the round going to Sydney.
The Coalescence is going to come out from Molotov. You can hear as well in the background. That's Billa right now with the Riptire, trying to make as best use of this as he can. He does find USMC, who had thrown out that Graviton Surge. Quats, you can see, is ready to go as well with the Primal Rage. So often that Primal Rage has been the thing to get the Drop Bears across the line, and maybe if they stack that with these other ultimates, they might have enough.
USMC giving up on the Zarya. He's going to switch over to the Tracer right now to get back quickly because he knows there's only one more fight left and he's not going to be able to have a Graviton Surge. Anyway, he might actually be able to build up a Pulse Bomb, though, if he's able to stay alive in what could become a long and extended fight. Forcing out the Transcenders onto a Kraken, though. Great start for Dark-Sided.
That's what they want to do. That Trans coming through as well as the Primal Rage from Quats isn't going to be enough. No one going down so far. So maybe that timing not so good here for the Drop Bears. A Kraken picked up by Termo. USMC does manage to find Quats, so great work. This might be enough for Dark-Sided to self-destruct over the top from the Drop Bears. Finds no one this time around, 99% to 99%. It is double overtime, and Jordation with a huge frag there as well. Mooney actually doing a pretty good job of stopping Billa, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. They want to get onto the point. They need to contest it, but Dark-Sided looking good here. They're getting the picks. They're doing what they need to do. Surely they get this first round here on Oasis.
Pulse Bomb comes out, but it doesn't connect quite onto Quats. Bitlog keeping alive, but it doesn't matter. They're not on the point, and Dark-Sided one round away now from moving into the grand final of the Australian Contenders playoffs.
Wow. And as we look here from our seats across these 12 players playing on stage, you can see the euphoria in the face of Dark-Sided. The guys from Drop Bears.
The concern on the faces of the Drop Bears.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, honestly, I'm looking deep into their eyes and I can't tell. Is it concern? Is it focus? Is it disappointment? I'm not sure. Either way, they only need to win the next two. On the other side, Dark-Sided looking very, very good here. They just need one of these next two rounds, and that'll be enough to get them through to the grand final, which, as you guys said, felt was going to be what we were going to see today. But either way, these two teams so very, very close.
And moving on to City Centre now, it's definitely time for the Sydney Drop Bears. That's it. They're on elimination point from here on out. Dark-Sided, one round away on Oasis. Sydney just cannot lose any more rounds. They've got no more lifelines in their pocket And it's interesting because even on Ilios, there were times where they were able to be on the point, get it up to 99%, and then when Darksided get on it, they hold it.
Yeah.
And then they continue to then go on and take the round. So Sydney Drop Bears probably feeling like they're dropping these control point maps and it's coming back to bite them. They've done the work elsewhere. They're just not getting it done on control.
This is where the focus that you would hopefully get from your boot camp, right? You want to have played this situation out. And I'm genuinely interested how many times these teams have actually scrimmed Oasis against top-tier teams in the region, because you very rarely saw it during Contenders in general, during the group stages, just 1 or 2 times, and the majority of the games that both these teams won were like 3-1, 4-0, right? They were pretty tough. I guess that is how you win a game, but you know what I mean? They were very one-sided matches, and we haven't seen Oasis very often. It's not like the other maps where they played them quite a lot recently in top-tier play in games that mattered.
Well, the interesting thing is, and I'm not going to be giving away scrim results, but when they do scrim on these control point maps, they play it as a best of 5, so they can actually see all 3 of the control point maps. That way, obviously, if they had scrimmed it as a best of 3, maybe one team goes 2-0, then you don't get to see that 3rd map. So that way, they're able to practice all 3 of the maps inside of the control point map. And that obviously now comes down to this on Oasis, where for the Sydney Drop Bears, they are required now to play all 3. They're going to have to go to Gardens as well now as this city centre that's coming up. So they would have practiced this. If they have scrimmed on Oasis, they would have played on all 3.
A brief pause as we can see here coming out at the moment, just for a couple of technical issues, which, as we saw before, sometimes those pauses can make a difference. It can make a difference to momentum. The guys from Darksided were on such a high after picking that one up. When you consider that they were behind, they looked like they were going to lose that round, and they managed to bring it back, and now they know they're only 1 away. They're feeling good. They should still feel okay, but it's not the same.
Well, I mean, the last time we saw it was obviously on Hollywood, and it took away all of Darksided's momentum. And for the Sydney Drop Bears, it gives them some time to breathe, to think, to talk about some comms. Again, it's almost like a tactical pause where they're discussing what they might try and do, or change things up, or bring out their secret weapon, or something that they might have wanted to save for the grand final. But in this case, Ben, it's time to give whatever they've got, bring it out.
Well, that's it. And for these players, this is probably the biggest domestic game of Overwatch that they have played. It's the biggest competition we've ever seen in the region. It is the closest competition we have ever seen in the region. They've made their way to LAN. They've worked for 2 months straight now as a team, playing a ton of games, scrimming, doing the hard work. They deserve to be here. They won their playoff matches, their quarterfinal. They did so convincingly. Both of these teams are so very strong. And then to see them here today and to see it go so close, mate, if this goes to the last round here on Oasis, that is going to be incredible.
And, you know, you say all of that, and when you look at the Sydney Drop Bears, if they lose this next round in City Centre, it's all pretty much for naught, because they wouldn't be going to the grand final and having a chance to be the inaugural Contenders champions. And so it's definitely a lot of stress there and a lot of thoughts probably going on in their heads right now, knowing they're on the brink of elimination. And for Darksided, you know, obviously, whenever you're probably up, you only need 1 more round.
Yeah.
You kind of feel like you got 1 step past the finish line. You got to get the 2nd leg over, well, but it's not quite that simple.
Yeah, sometimes it's to me, and
you might trip over.
I do talk about football a lot. I'm a rugby league fan here in Australia, and sometimes, right, you'll see the players and they see the try line and the ball is passed to them, and they'll look at the ball, they'll look at the try line and take their eye off the ball, and they don't actually catch it because it's right there. They're ready to go, and you need to sort of bring it back and be like, yeah, we only need 1 more, but we need 1 more, and we need to win 1 more against a team who has taken 2 full maps off us so far today, a team who has played so very well all season, a team who, to be fair, in the regular season, decimated every team except for Masterminds.
Yep.
For Darksided, these guys are in a prime position, and the Drop Bears now need to think, I guess, the other way. They're like, I think maybe they need to go, we need to win 1 more. We need to win 1 more round. And then we need to win 1 more round. You just need to take it 1 step at a time, because there's so much pressure on all of these players when you think about it in the scheme of the whole season.
There's no time to relax. They cannot think. They can't rest on their laurels and think that, okay, we only need 1 more round. We get this done. If we lose it, we got 1 more. But if you lose this one, the momentum that Sydney Drop Bears will have going into that final round will be huge, because it'll be Darksided thinking, oh boy, we dropped it, we have to now come back, and Sydney Drop Bears are going to go in probably thinking, just keep the momentum, keep that hype, keep that style of play, and it's worked. And obviously it worked in that last round, and you know, hypothetically. And for Darksided, they're essentially going to do that now, but the pause is taking that away.
Yeah, it has. Well, in typical Overwatch fashion, we're going to have to take a breather here, Roadhog style. Guys and girls, we are going to take a very quick break, and when we come back, the conclusion of this first semi-final here at Overwatch Contenders Australia.
The damage available. And Boyer has so much ability to be able to just get away from players like Linkser on the Tracer. Now getting very close, building up the ult, and there it is.
Oh, okay, the Coalescence coming out here. Jaehong's just giving the Houston Outlaws a good hosing down. Oh, they're clean indeed. But that push from Soul was nothing but dirty.
great sound to hear if you're playing DPS, Elfishguy. And again, another rocket barrage, just in time. Now, sign goes down, no ultimates ready quite yet, but Micro, let's go, Dragon Blade. And this might be it, Jordan. What can he do? Picks up one, that's Joy Boy. Trace actually will take out Face, that's okay. But Villa's still going strong, picks up another. Gonna push on here onto the point. Turmo already at 50% of his ulti. Special Kid almost going down. August 9th. Gonna get picked up there by Turmo. Finds two, see ya later. No more see you later here, guys and girls, as we take a look at Turmo in that action previously. We come back into the action here, and Xenox, Turmo has been such a strong force today.
He definitely has, hasn't he? And really, both teams have been a strong force. I think, you know, maybe we can give them both a bit of a pat on the back so far for putting on a show here and highlighting the skills that these teams have. It's almost unfair that there's only one winner.
It is almost unfair, right? Everyone could be a champion, but unfortunately we are forced to pit these teams up against each other. But to be fair, that is what it's all about. It's about the challenge. It's about coming together as a team. It's about growing as a unit. And well, all of these teams so far this season have grown so very much. They've done such a great job. Not just the top 4 teams, but everyone else in Contenders here in Australia. And we are back ready to go. As you can see, the scores are 2-2. That is the map score. In terms of here on Oasis, Darksided are 1-0 up. They are 1 away from taking home this semi-final. The Drop Bears need to pick up 2 more if they want to stay in it and go up against either Masterminds or Blank Blue a little bit later on this afternoon.
You see Turmo on the Sombra looks like completely anticipating that Billa was going to be in the Sombra, which is the case. It's going to be interesting to see, though, if Turmo is going to be able to handle the Sombra play. You'd expect Billa would be the favourable preference in terms of the matchup between those two, but there's a lot more to that than just a one-on-one fight. That's not what we're going to see from it. Yeah,
all of the players getting in it right away, and Quad's the first one to go down to Punk. Billa going to get the heck out of dodge there with the translocate, still trying to do damage with that machine pistol from up on top, trying to get those hacks away as well. But Darkside is the team that's going to get the picks one after another, and they're going to get the point.
They get the point, they get the kills, which obviously means they also get the percentages in their ultimates for that next fight. They'll have the ult economy now that they can try and control. The game is in their hands, the round is in their hands, and the series is in their hands. Sydney Drop Bears are going to be playing from behind now, and this is where the Sombra is less effective. When you haven't got control of the point and there's another Sombra, all those health packs are hacked already.
Yeah, it makes life very, very difficult. USMC the first to go down, the Drop Bears getting a little bit back there with Jordation, but Molotov ready to go. Oh, the hack comes through. That is huge, and Jordation follows it up with a pulse bomb as well. That slows them down real quick. The Drop Bears should theoretically be able to bring this point back now at about 45% if all things go equally. Maybe not. Turmo doing some work, and the rest of them come through, and Turmo now with an EMP ready to go as well, even though the Drop Bears are the ones finding the picks.
I mean, the fight's over, essentially. It's just point delay time for Darksided to get that percentage ticking up higher and higher. You can see now Swilko goes in after Turmo dies, one after the other, and it's pretty much reaching 60% when the fight was over at about 45%. That is a huge effort for Darksided. For City Drop Bears, though, they have 6 ultimates available, and they've got the point in their favor.
Yeah, they really want to try and bring this back and get as much as they can. If Darksided wins fight and takes it from 60%, there's the potential for them to push through with only one extra fight to have to deal with, and then they can win from there. So much on the line for both of these teams, so much pressure as well. It's really palpable here right now. I'm glad we got the aircon on because I think things are really, really heating up. Billa doing a bit of work, going to be forced back there again with the translocator. Both these Sombras with EMPs ready to go. Who's going to use the better one? That's the real question. Oh my goodness, it's going to be Billa straight away. Trying to do some work. The Drop Bears still with 3 ultimates ready to go. 4 on the side of Darksided. You're up to 36, 37% right now, and they're not even having to fight on the point here. They're pushing all the way through, trying to keep them back in spawn.
Yeah, but it was City Drop Bears that were committing their ultimates in that fight, and that was obviously why Darksided were pushed back to spawn. Darksided didn't really commit a whole lot. They've still got 4 ultimates in their favor, most importantly Turmo's EMP, which can well and truly dramatically shift the fight in their favor. It's going to be Swilko with that sound barrier to engage for Darksided. When that EMP comes out, he might want to wait for Bertlog's sound barrier. No, that means Bertlog's sound barrier will not get hacked at all.
That's precisely what you want to see if you're the Drop Bears. But on the other side of things, the Dark Side are doing great work. They're picking up kill after kill after kill. They're contesting the point. I'm going to see it about 75% maybe before they bring it back after they pick up those kills. 75, 76, still trying to slow it down, but it's not going to be enough. 77 is where it ends. And as we said before, Darkseid are now only a couple of fights away, maybe even one and a bit from being victorious here.
I like the save from Bertlog. I'm going to give him credit for that because he realizes the situation. Obviously, Turmo's not going to have the EMP ready for the next fight, which means his sound barrier well and truly cannot be erased. And he knows that a lot of ultimates are going to come back up. Jordation's got that pulse bomb, and now there comes that sound barrier. But Turmo dies early, 83% and ticking up for Darksider. They can probably hold this on for a while. The pulse bomb missed from about 2 meters out. Jordation so close yet so far. Onto the point now, Punk to try and delay. He loses that mech. Quats, it's always Quats, isn't it, for Sydney?
Oh man, Quats time and time again doing the work. Mooney trying to stay strong. USMC's gone down as well. But there you go, Molotov going to get picked up there by Billa. They bring it back at 99%. This is so close. The Drop Bears need this round to stay alive. Darksided, they need 1%, and they go through to this afternoon's grand final. You take a look at the ultimates at 3-3. Now Quats coming up with the force. Surely Swolko and Molotov will find theirs if they can keep this fight going long enough. But really, it's going to be these EMPs. Billa throws his out first. He was the only one with one available. Oh my goodness, the double self-destruct coming out from Shoyo. That might be enough. We're into overtime, 99-99. So many picks coming out from the Drop Bears. Darksided falling one by one.
They're doing it.
Huge kill streak coming out here for the Drop Bears. And they pick it up one apiece. It does not get any closer than this.
I mean, we've gone the distance, haven't we? 15 out of 15 rounds if it's boxing, but 5 maps. And we've gone to 1-1 here onto Oasis. Sydney Drop Bears get it done. And for Darksided, they probably feel like they threw that one away. They had the ultimates. They had the 99% before Sydney Drop Bears did. And in the end, the Drop Bears came back. And this is what I was talking a bit before during the break, was that now it's the hype and momentum is on the favor of Sydney Drop Bears.
That's it. And for the first time in a while, it's been on the side of the Sydney Drop Bears. Is it going to be enough? They are so very close, as are Darksided. Everyone has said Darksided are the favourites. Everyone has said the Drop Bears are almost up to par. Perhaps on their best day, they will win here. Is today their best day? Is today the day they take down Darksided? Well, one last round remains. The point unlocking in 15 seconds. We will know within the next 2 minutes who makes it through the semi-final.
We will. Point unlocks in about 5 seconds or so. Early fight coming out onto the point as Turmo again going with that Sombra. They get the kill onto Quats. He's got to be the primary target for Darksided. He does so much for the Sydney Drop Bears, both as a tank and even as a DPS on that Winston. He just does it all. Shoyo's mech popped. It's going to get out of here. So once again, Darksided are going to win the initial fight here. Pulse Bomb comes out from Jordation. It doesn't connect, and that means he doesn't have it for that next fight. Darksided, here we go. They start ticking up.
They're looking very good right now as well. Take a look at that ultimate charge across the board for Darksided. Very strong. They're in a prime position right now. They just want to just win each fight at a time. Use your ultimates in a timely fashion. Do what you can, and it'll get them across the line.
They were in this position before, though, on City Centre. They need to make sure they don't throw this away. They have the ult economy.
Going to push in here to our second fight here. 21% is where it's at. Turmo forced back by the translocate. Gets through. A hack has an EMP ready as well. The self-destruct comes through. But Drop Bears, look at this. Again, they're coming through in this second fight. Even though Darksided won fight number 1, the Drop Bears looking so strong the second time around. They didn't even necessarily have that ult charge advantage. But now they will. Look at this. They're going to pick it up. And it's going to be 40% to Darksided as Sydney Drop Bears start ticking it away. Can they hold this one long enough?
It was all down to Shoyo there, picking up 3 kills in total in that fight. And again, you know, really looking back, it was Shoyo was the reason why we're even here on Gardens. The only reason why this is still tied and Darksided done in the grand final is probably because of Shoyo, and he's done it again here. 38% for Darksided, they've been stopped, 20% ticking up for the Sydney Drop Bears now. They've got 4 ults, and it's going to be Billa now utilising that EMP early on. He actually gets hacked back though from Turmo with an EMP of his own, but they've already lost USMC and Punk's mech.
Sound barrier going to come out from Darksided along with that coalescence from Molotov. but I don't know if it's going to be enough. You see the counter sound barrier coming out from the Drop Bears. Mooney's gone down in the background to Kraken's Coalesce, and there's two. Swilko goes down as well. The Drop Bears winning this fight. Darksided going to be forced to fall back now. The Drop Bears are in the lead. They're at 43%. They're continuing forward. Darksided need to regroup, do what they can. They do not want to be staggered here.
And they, you know, either way they did. They got staggered in the end because time has been wasted. That's more ticks now for the Sydney Drop Bears. Quartz has got a Primal Rage available. Jordation with that Pulse Bomb and Shoyo the self-destruct. I mean, it's the big three right now that have been really popping off for the Sydney Drop Bears. And with Darksided, they'll have 3 ultimates of their own and close to a Primal Rage for Mooney for a 4th. 65%. There's not many fights left in this one, Ben.
Certainly is not much time left at all. Finally, we see a half-decent Q coming out, and that's going to bring out Quartz. And this time, Darksided are the ones finding the picks. That's been huge. They clean sweep the Drop Bears here. One by one, they start to fall. Molotov doing some work in the background. Bertlock going to fall down. You can see Billa just trying to get as much percentage as he can. He's going to get to about 86, 87% here before they can capture the point. At which point, the Drop Bears have so many ultimates to bring it back.
It's all well and good that they won the fight, don't get me wrong, but it was 3 ultimates used to 1 in favor of Darksided. That's kind of highlights why they were able to win that fight. Jordation was the only one who used an ultimate for Sydney Drop Bears. That was the Pulse Bomb. And as you can see, the 4 tick mark for the Sydney Drop Bears, they've got plenty of utility to come into this next fight. And even though it's at 91%, it almost feels like they only need to win probably one more fight. Here they come.
It is literally the Drop Bears' fight to lose right now. You can see a Kraken going down first. They managed to find a couple of picks though. Molotov's been picked up as well. Punk pushes through. Going to get D-Mech. That is less than ideal. Permo brings one back, but they've lost a few. There goes the Q. Finds no one. Punk goes down. Swilko doing as much work as he possibly can. The Drop Bears trying to bring this back. Mooney going to pop the Primal Rage, trying to keep Darksided in this competition. The Drop Bears, you can see the Coalescence pushing through. Self-destruct over the top. And as you said, that Pulse Bomb's found one. Molotov's gone down as well. The Drop Bears looking in prime position. 94, 95% Darksided need to get back onto the point, but they're not going to be allowed to do that. Self-destructor over the top. This is their last chance. No picks. Nothing's coming through. The Drop Bears, they're into overtime. They just need to find this right now. Pick after pick after pick is going to the Drop Bears. They are going through to the grand final. The Drop Bears surely taking down Darksided here in this first semi-final.
Well, that's going to be it. The overtime bar ticks down. The Sydney Drop Bears are into the grand final for Contenders Australia Season 1. They upset Darksided in an absolute thriller.
That was absolutely incredible. It does not get any closer than that. We wanted these epic games all season long. We wanted them during groups. We wanted them at the start of playoffs. We get them in the semi-finals, and the Drop Bears 3-2 take down the first seed in Group A and make their way into the best of 7 grand final this afternoon. AVRL and Pixie, I'm not going to rub it in. That could not have been any closer. Either team could have won, but in the end, it was the Drop Bears who pick it up.
Man, and I think you can almost solely pin that on Shoyo. I think you actually mentioned it, Xenox. During that last point, we wouldn't have even gone to Gardens there if Shoyo hadn't got that extra clutch self-destruct, totally changed things around. They would have been Darksided right now, walking over, collecting their handshake, getting ready to, you know, watch their next opponent for the final, but it's not. Shoyo absolutely saved that one, then performed like a firecracker on Gardens. That is so deserved there from Drop Bears.
You can see how close it was as well. The teams, the players, they feel that hugs across the board. It's not even just handshakes for this particular semi-final. Where it really fell apart for Darksided, though, was on Hollywood and Hanamura. Those were the 2 maps that felt like they were truly sweeps in favor of the Drop Bears. You look at Junkertown, you look at Ilios, even Oasis right in. Those 3 maps, super close. The 2 that Darksided won, super close, but it was Drop Bears. When they won, it looked good.
What do we bring this down to, Xenox? At the end of the day, is it individual skill? Is it luck? Is it just how the day plays out?
I mean, it's always a bit of everything, isn't it, really, at the end of the day? Is there a bit of luck possibly for Shoyo's play? And, you know, it's got to obviously include all skill too. And I think maybe Darksided just, in the end, just capitulated. You know, they were so close to the finish line. They got that first round, and in the end, Sydney Drop Bears, they didn't give up. They had the mentality that they weren't out of it yet, and that they were going to continue to push forward and through everything that they had at it.
So, if you're Dark-Side right now, it's less than ideal, but they should still be very, very proud of what they've achieved this season.
I think so as well. You know, once again, first place in Group A, 5-0 undefeated in the regular season. Coming into this map set as well, Sydney Drop Bears, this was always going to be a close match. This could always have gone any side. We said 3-2 to Dark-Sided. Realistically, 3-2 to Drop Bears, equally as viable. And you can see it right here. 3-2 is exactly how it ended.
Wow, so many games go not necessarily down to the wire, but so very few come as close as that. Pixie, what are your takeaways from this match?
I actually think the biggest thing I kind of see in here, you sort of touched it a moment ago, the mentality there of Drop Bears, that you're never out. You know, they were at match point after Hanamura. They could have had it on Junkertown if they'd pushed that a little bit further. It would have been them right there. Oasis, they lost the first one. They were like, it was up to 99 for Dark-Sided on the second one, but at no point did they ever let that get to them. And we've kind of mentioned this, like, today is a marathon, right? You do a best of 5, and then if you win that, you do a best of 7. They could find themselves at the bottom of Game 7 somewhere, one map down already on a control point. I don't actually think it's control, but you kind of get my meaning, right? And this team has now proven that their mentality is absolutely unshakable.
Well, that's it, right, Xenox? When you think about it, you and I, we cast that match. That was a long match. It's taken a lot out of me. If you're a player who was so close to winning, then was so close to losing, that all of a sudden picks it up, finds the victory, but you do that in the second semi-final because you're one of the other two teams competing. If you're Masterminds or Blank Blue and that is how your game plays out, that makes a real tough grand final.
Well, that's sort of what we discussed a little bit, was that sort of feeling that if it was the second final right now and it was the fact that they'd be going straight into the grand final and they'd have that hyper momentum, that'd be nice. But it's still a good feeling to win, and now they get a bit of a break. They can regroup. They can go over to some strats. So I think that, as we said, there's positives to both sides of things. And, geez, it must be hard for Dark-Sided right now. They would be feeling quite demoralized.
Well, it's been an incredible day so far. So many amazing plays. We saw play after play after play that really made what that game was. But what I want to know, Avril, is what is our Macca's play of the game?
And here's a really, really small one that you probably didn't quite catch if you weren't paying exclusive attention. Now watch Mooney on the Reinhardt. Look at what he does right here. Just after Jordation, look at that tire. Give it a second, bam, straight out of the map. Look at the time as well, 99 to 99 on this map. That could have gone either way, but this was a game changer. If that tire went off, if it collected any kills, that could have been Sydney Drop Bears taking that first map.
Who even does that? Who melees a tire as Reinhardt? That is so risky. If you mistime that, if the Junkrat sees you drop the shield before that swing connects, boom, tires off, you're dead, and suddenly Drop Bears win the fight. That was so ballsy.
Look, all I'm going to say is maybe Junkrat is the one with the cricket skin, but maybe it's Reinhardt that really needs one, because that was a cracker of a hit there, and it really was a deserving Macca's play of the game. Overall, gentlemen, wow, what a way to start the day.
Oh, definitely, isn't it? It's definitely set the tone for the rest of the day, the second semi-final, and then the grand final to follow. It's almost like, can they match that? And I think they can. Masterminds versus Blank Blue is definitely a matchup that can pretty much go roughly the same.
Yeah, for me, this matchup, the next one was the one that I particularly wanted to see. Blank Blue, who were the team coming into the regular season, that so many people were like, these guys are the best. That's why they've been picked up by Blank. They're going to win. And then Masterminds came through, and we didn't, whilst we thought they were going to be good, we didn't know that much about them because they didn't play as many games as we thought up until the start. And then all of a sudden they come through, clean sweep, they take out the Drop Bears as well, and it's going to be very close. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's a slight shame we don't get to see a Blank Dark-Sided final. But I think I also actually have to say I stand by my current thoughts that if everyone shows up today, then, you know, we do get Blank going on through, and that's the thing, right? Almost that semi-final. Yeah, but almost that second semi-final now has to kind of match the caliber of that first one. Even just from the standpoint of the winning team wants to feel like they are good enough to go up against Drop Bears, who just went the distance in the close semi-final. You almost want to have a close semi-final that you win so that you can feel like you're at least on par with who you're going to face in the finals.
Well, that's it. We know now that the Drop Bears have that clarity of mind to push through when they're behind, to push through against an opponent who some people might say were better than them at the start of the season. However, let's go and have a chat to them and see what they say. DK with the Drop Bears.
Thank you very much. I'm here with Jordation from the Sydney Drop Bears. Now, I've got to say, everyone, well, most people, I'm sure not yourselves, but the desk, Underdog was the word used. What do you have to say about that?
I think it was a fair assumption just based off past results. But it was always going to be super close. Everything we've played with them has been super close, and we took it the full distance and won.
Absolutely. What a time to do it as well. Now, you lost that first point on the last map, facing elimination from then on in. What was said between the team? What brought you back from the brink?
We kind of just had to recollect ourselves. Like, there was so much pressure, we started losing our minds. We started just not doing what we've always trained to do. So the break was good. We took some deep breaths and we just reset mentally.
Absolutely. Now, a couple of family members here have traveled to support you guys. I asked you if your family's here. You said you didn't let them come. What's that about?
I didn't let them come because I felt like it would just add extra pressure, pretty much.
Absolutely. You still thrive in it, though. Now, this might be a dangerous question with Blank and Masterminds coming up. What do you think? You got a little bit of time, get some food, get some drink into you. Who do you think you'll be facing in the grand final? And who would you prefer to be facing in the grand final?
I think Blank, if they show up, the kids, they're nutty. If they have a good day, they're going to win easily, I think. And I think we'd rather verse them as well.
You've got that covered though, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jordation. Congratulations on the win. We have one more semi-final up there. They will be playing against Drop Bears in the final. But who will it be? Blank, Blue, or Masterminds GC? Stay tuned after this break to find out who.